So we are working through exercise 2.7 on page 234 of the text. And exercise 2.7 says, suppose the following items were taken from the 2022 financial statements of Texas Instruments Incorporated. All dollars are in millions, and it lists a whole bunch of different accounts. And then it says instructions, prepare a classified balance sheet in good form as of December 31, 2022. So we're going to do the whole thing here. Okay. So we are going to start off in the very beginning of the statement by putting the name, Texas Instruments Incorporated. We're going to label it balance sheet. We are then going to put the date, December 31, 2022. We're going to put in parentheses in millions because the problem told us it was in millions. So for the balance sheet, the first section is the asset sections, and we're going to title that assets, okay? And you should remember again, you should be trying to do this problem on your own first and then follow along to see, how well you did and where you might need to adjust. Okay, so asset section. So the first section is going to be current assets. Okay, current assets is going to be listed first. And for the current assets, we always start with cash. Cash is listed first, and the cash is 1182. The next thing we're going to look for is short-term investments or debt investments. And if we look in the problem here, we're going to see it says debt investments short-term. So they're not giving us a year that we have to count the dates and see, but they're telling us it's short-term. So that would go here, debt investments short-term, and that's going to be 1743. The next thing we would look for is accounts receivable, and we see that accounts receivable is listed, and accounts receivable is 1823. Next on our list would be inventory. So inventory is 1202. And then next would be prepaid rent. And prepaid rent is 164. And that's the total for the current assets. So the label is total current assets for this line. And then we're going to add together all of those numbers that we just listed there. So we are going to do 1182, 1743, 1823, 1202, and 164. So our total current assets are 6,114. We're then going to go to the next section in the assets, which is called long-term investments. And if we go back to our list there, we're going to see that it has stock investments, and they don't give you a date, but they tell you it's long-term. So that's going to be stock investments. Stock investments. There's only one item there, so the total is going to push all the way over to the right, 637. Our next section is going to be the property, plant, and equipment, the PPE. And under the property, plant, and equipment, we see that we have equipment. And the equipment is $6,705. And then we have the less accumulated depreciation hyphen equipment. So we're going to put a less accumulated depreciation equipment. And I need to make that a little bit bigger there, that area, because it's too small. Okay, less depreciation, accumulated depreciation equipment, and the accumulated depreciation equipment is 3,547. So now we're going to subtract the 3,547 from the 6,705, and that's going to give us 3,158. and that's that same line there, and that's called the book value. So the book value of the asset is $31.58. We're then going to do the next section, which is the intangible asset section. Intangible assets. And under intangible assets, we had patents. Just one, patents. So 2210. So there's just one, so it's pushing all the way over to the right. And that's the total of all of the asset sections. So we're now going to add together the 6114, the 637, the 3158, and the 2210. And that's going to give us a total of 12,119. And that is actually the total assets. So that's the total assets. We're then going to go down to the next section, the liabilities and stockholders' equity section. And I have this black line here because for me, if I think about it as two little mini reports within one, it's easier for me to kind of focus in. It helps some people, not all people. So if it doesn't help you, just ignore that line. You won't see that on your homework or anything. Okay, next section is the liabilities, liabilities and stockholders equity section. Okay, so we put the title in the center there, liabilities and stockholders equity. And then the first section that we list is the current liabilities. Current liabilities. And so if we go and we look, we're going to see that there's accounts payable. So accounts payable is 1,459. And then we see that there is income taxes payable. And the income taxes payable is 128. So we will then add those two together, the 1459 and the 128. And that's going to give us our total liabilities, our total current liabilities. Total current liabilities. Then we're going to go down to the next section. The next section is going to be our long-term liabilities. Long-term liabilities. And under long-term liabilities, we're going to see notes payable. And we know it's long-term because it says long-term next to it. If it said short-term or it was going to be paid within the next year, it would be a current liability. But it says long-term, so notes payable. And the notes payable is a total of 810. There's only one, so that pushes all the way over to the right. And then we're going to add the 1587 and the 810 together. And that's going to give us a total of 2397. And 2397 is our total liabilities. That's the current and long-term liabilities. And then we're going to move down to the next section. And the next section is called stockholders' equity. And under stockholders' equity, we always list common stock first at this point in the class. And it's 2826. And then we're going to have the retained earnings. And the retained earnings are 6896. And then we're going to add those together, the 2826 and 6896. And that's going to give us our total stockholders' equity. And then we are going to add together the 2397 and the 9722. And that's going to give us what's called our total liabilities and stockholders equity. And again, I have highlighted the two cells here that the total assets are 12,119 and the liabilities and stockholders' equity is 12,119. And that's what we need. The assets need to equal the liabilities plus the stockholders' equity.